In today's video, we're on our way to pick up a bike that I just found on Marketplace. It had only been posted for about 23 minutes and the guy only wants 200 bucks for it. From what I can tell, it appears to be a complete barn find. It seems like a pretty good deal to me. So we've got about an hour drive. We're gonna go check this bike out, and once we get there, I'll let you guys see it as well.
I don't know if you noticed the little scooter cart right there.
Oh yeah, that thing's cool. little tractor, or lawnmower kind of contraption.
Look at the size of the engine on that thing.
That's pretty cool.
Got a clear title. It's just the dude lost it that I bought it from.
Yeah.
But I bought it like 5 years ago, and it sat in my son's garage for about 3 years. But it's been under a roof for most of its time I had it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard it run or?
When we first got it, it fired up and it sounded like a freaking YZ or a KX.
Oh yeah.
It was like ring, 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 ring,
yep.
ring, ring, ring.
Yeah, these old two-strokes sound like that. That's how my Suzuki sounded too.
Even with the sort of street pipe exhaust, it's supposed to do, but it ain't. Don't quiet it down at all.
Yeah.
Kicked it over and got good compression.
I was just gonna look in this tank right here. 700 miles is what it says on there.
I know it. We never drove it far enough to see if it actually worked.
Yeah.
Got both ranks, you can walk one up.
Nah, it's short enough it should.
Oh, I see. You went right through the side.
You can tell I've done this a couple times.
Right, and you have the limited legs. I don't know if that should be. Pick up projects, right?
Yep.
I'll check you out, man.
I appreciate you.
Knuckle bump will get it done, right?
Yes, sir. Well, as you guys can tell, we picked up the bike. We're headed back to the house. We're gonna get it unloaded and we're gonna dig into it a little bit more. So I'll see you guys back at the house. Well, we finally made it back to the house. We've got the bike in the garage here. We're about to do a walk around and dig into this thing to see what all it needs. Before we do that, make sure you guys stick around to the end. We're actually doing a small giveaway. So if you guys want to be a part of that, watch to the end. I'll let you know all the requirements for the giveaway and let you guys get some free stuff. But with that being said, let's go ahead and do a walk around of this machine and we'll start digging into it. So right off the bat, you can tell, I mean, this thing is absolutely a piece of junk. I mean, for 200 bucks, it really doesn't get much better than this. This thing is filthy. I debated washing it before I brought it in. I've already found a cockroach on this thing. I've already found a wasp that was living somewhere inside this thing. So hopefully we don't find a nest, but I mean, it's just rusted and everything's torn. It's got dirt, grime, mud. The tank is filthy. The chrome is kind of pitted and rusted out, and everything is just in real poor shape. Our tires up here are dry rotted, so we'll definitely need tires at some point. Let's look in the gas tank here. So as you can tell in there, it's definitely rusted out. It's not the worst that I've seen, honestly. I definitely think that there's hope. I can see some, back in here, I can see some bare metal. So maybe we can get it cleaned up. I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. But yeah, we may do that at the end of the video or something. But there is old gas still in here. I've heard it sloshing around. So I don't think the tank has any leaks, which is nice. So, you know, it could be salvageable. I don't think our petcock down here is working at all. It's in the, right now it's in the off position and it's not turning at all. So we may have to take that petcock apart later on and try to clean that all out. But other than that, it looks like everything is pretty much there except this one airbox boot that connects to where the carb goes in. So not too shabby. I think for 200 bucks, we've definitely got some good wiggle room. We can get this thing fixed up. So the first thing I want to do, let's get this seat removed. Let's get this tank removed, and let's see if we can hook up a battery to it, get power, and see if it does anything at all. All right, seat is coming off. The seat is actually in decent shape. It will need a new seat cover, but it's mostly intact, so not the worst that I've seen for sure. At least it's got all its parts. Gas tank is coming off. It looks like it has the rubber connector here that holds it down, but looks like this little part is broke. I don't know if there's a way we can fix that or buy a replacement. And I think this should just slide right off of here. Yep. So underneath the tank, everything looks pretty good. Definitely nasty gas in there. We'll have to take a look at that at some point, but yeah, I don't see any repairs or anything, so I think this tank will clean up. It's got one little dent on this side right here, not the worst thing in the world, so it might have potential. We'll have to see. We'll go ahead and remove our side cover here. That's covering up our oil reservoir. Hopefully there's nothing behind here that's gonna bite me or sting me. Nope. Everything looks good there. Plastic's not broken. It's got a little scuff, but looks pretty good. It'll clean up. So got everything off of here. The frame isn't looking terrible in here. It's not all rusted out like the rest of it that's been exposed. Wiring seems to be intact. This is the only thing, this ignition switch, all these wires are kind of exposed, so that's probably gonna lead to some issues. Yep. Nothing else is really standing out to me. This battery, let's go ahead and get that removed because that's probably junk. I can tell it's been in here for a while. It's probably the original battery, and also that air filter down in there. We need to try to get that out as well. So right about here, I realized that my mic stopped working for a few clips. So what we're doing here, we're just getting our old battery out, inspecting it, and we're gonna swap over to the new battery. So this is our new battery going in. We're gonna get that all hooked up. Now we're gonna move over to our air filter. Got a couple Phillips heads we gotta remove up top. Gonna pop those off real quick. So we got our top coming off, and air filter does not look the best. It's very worn down and kind of brittle. I'm gonna pop this cage out, take a look at the whole filter. And as you can tell, it's just falling apart. I don't know if that's the exact one that's supposed to go on there, but probably not. And just a bunch of dust and dirt in the bottom of this air box. And I think there was a few like pieces of acorns, things like that. And the next thing I wanted to do was go ahead and check the oil in this. I wasn't sure if there was any oil down in the engine itself, and I didn't want to really kick it over before we checked that. So just looking at it, it looks kind of dry. We're gonna grab a zip tie and stick that down in there, see if we can get a reading on anything. So as you can tell, there is oil in there. Doesn't look dark, it looks fairly new, but it's probably low, so we need to add some to it before we really get this thing running. Next, we're gonna go ahead and get this spark plug out. I wanna check this thing for compression real quick. And also we need to test it for spark once we do that. I was just inspecting the spark plug. It didn't look fouled out or anything, so I think our spark plug is okay to reuse. Putting some WD-40 down the cylinder just to lubricate it before we kick it over and check our compression. We'll kick it over here and see how it sounds, make sure it's smooth. It sounds smooth. I don't hear any knocking or clanking, so I don't think there's a issue with the piston or the bottom end. Let's go ahead and check the compression on it while we got the spark plug removed, just so we can go ahead and eliminate that and just to kind of see what we're working with. So I actually just recently picked this up off of Amazon. I think it was like 15 bucks for the whole set, but it comes with a bunch of different threaded tips for different types of machines, and it seems to be working great so far. So if you guys need a compression tester and hadn't pulled the trigger on one, I'll leave a link for this one here if you guys are interested in picking one up. All right, you guys watch right here. We're gonna kick it over and see what our compression looks like. So we got our throttle open, and let's kick it over. It was pretty difficult to do it on the stand, but looks like it's 110. Not the greatest compression in the world, but also it's enough to hopefully start it and maybe free up those rings. So I guess our next point of interest, let's go ahead and see if we've got power on the machine at all now that we've got a new battery on there, and we'll go ahead and start troubleshooting any electrical issues. So let's go ahead, we've got our battery hooked up here. Let's just turn our key and see if we get anything. So that's on, and that should be on with the lights. Doesn't look like the headlight's working. Does look like the tail light's working, so that's good. So at least we know we have power. I'm not sure if the headlight needs to have the engine running for it to work. I'm not sure on this specific model, but it may need to be running. Let's check our turn signals. All right, so that came on, indicator came on. Let's try this one. All right, that one came on. Doesn't look like either one of the back bulbs work. I really don't want to try this horn right now. It's late at night. I don't want to bother anybody if it does work. We'll try that later on in the video when we're outside. But the one thing I am noticing, I'm not seeing a neutral light, so that's definitely going to be an issue. We need to look into that. So let me see if I can do some testing. I'm assuming this fuse is good since we've got power to some of the places. Let me check some of these wires up here that are frayed, maybe look at a wire diagram and see if I can try to troubleshoot some of this, and we'll be back in just a moment once I have an answer on this neutral light. So we got a little bit of an update. Went ahead and pulled the headlight off here so we could get access to the wiring. I traced the wires all the way up here, and this section here goes up to the top cluster where the neutral light is. So it's the same route as my turn signal blinkers. So if I probe the wire for the turn signals, you can see that I'm getting voltage up here. It's hard to get it in there, but it is getting a reading. And also when I touch this bottom pin, I'm getting voltage as well. So that bottom right one is this one here, which is the brown wire, which is the wire that is sending power to the neutral light. So it's getting power, and then on the other side here, I came and I traced this wire down here to the neutral safety switch, and I went ahead and pulled this green wire and tested to make sure it was grounding out while it was in neutral. So I hooked the lead to the positive and put it to the ground. I got a reading, and then I put it into gear and it went off. So I know my neutral safety switch is working as well. So I think everything's good. The only thing that might be happening is we may have a burnout bulb. So I'm gonna pull this apart, see if our bulb is bad, and then we'll go from there. So we got our cluster removed here. Followed the wires, I came to the neutral switch here, and if you look, this bulb is completely burnt out and busted. I may have an extra one, I'm not sure. I'll look, if not, I'll get one ordered, but at least that's a good sign that it was just our bulb. It's not actually an issue with the wiring. So I'll get that swapped out, but with that being said, I think that maybe the bulbs on the high beam and stuff are blown. I'll check those, and I think we're ready to maybe go ahead and test this thing for spark. I want to get these wires fixed up just so they're not exposed, but for now they're doing their job. So let's go ahead and check for spark and see if this thing will hopefully run for us. Let's pop our boot off here. Let me grab another spark plug. You got a brand new one. Pop that on, and let's ground it out right here. Got our key on, and I'll kill the lights a little bit so you guys can see me kick it over here and see if we have spark and verify that. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like the bike here has spark. I do believe that these models actually have points on them, and based on what the rest of the bike looks like with all this rust and corrosion, I bet that our points are pretty corroded. So we're gonna pop off that little side cover on the other side and check those points, and hopefully we can sand them down a little bit and get our spark to come back. It does look like somebody may have been in here at some point. This bolt is partially out of here. Hopefully that's not a bad sign of something else to come. Well, apparently I had to take everything off. So that's good to know. And boy, is this corroded down here. Oof. I can see the points right in here, and they look bad. Let me get a flashlight. Oh yeah. I mean, you guys can just see the water that was pulling up in here and on the side of the magneto there. But if you look, let's see if I can get you guys in there. There's our points down in there, and as you can tell, all that looks super corroded. I'm gonna try to get some sandpaper in there and clean those up a little bit, see if we get our spark back after that. I was just sitting here messing with the points, and before it wasn't returning, but Looks like I've freed it up, just working it back and forth here, which is good. So I'm just gonna get in there with some sandpaper and clean those contacts up real quick. How you like that light? All right, let's see if I can do this here. A little tricky to get in this window here. Let's see. Well, of course, with every project, there are some setbacks. So as I was cleaning the points here, I was sanding them down lightly, and after sanding them for a few seconds, I went back in to check them to see how they looked, and it looks like one of the tops of the points broke free. I guess they were just too corroded. So now I've got to try to find the points for this machine, see if I can order a part for that. We've got to remove this magneto here and try to get that replaced and set the point. So what I think we're gonna do in the meantime, while we're waiting on those parts, let's go ahead and pull off the carb on the other side. We can get that cleaned while we're waiting, and we may go ahead and make this a 2-part series. That way we can finish everything up in part 2. So we'll go ahead and leave this spark issue for now and come back to it. So before we continue working on the bike, I wanted to let you guys know about that small giveaway that I mentioned earlier in the video. If you look in the description below, there's a link to a website that I created recently, and there's a couple products on there that I've made, and I'll continue to add to it as time goes on. But I'm gonna be picking 3 people that I'm gonna be sending one of my personalized decals to. Here are 3 that I have on hand just for you guys to see. So these are just a couple of the options that I have. This is our XR350 that we worked on in the past. Big red, and then just the logo itself. I have a couple more on the website that you guys can look at and pick from. But again, I'll be picking 3 different people. So the way you enter, you need to make sure that you like this video and you're subscribed to the channel. Then go down into the comments and tell me if you think we're gonna get this Kawasaki running or not. Once you do that, in part 2 of this series, I'm gonna be revealing the 3 winners. So be sure to check that video out as well, and I'll let you guys pick which decal you would like, and I'll have it shipped to you for free. So be sure to do that. And with that being said, let's get this car popped off and we'll get it all cleaned up. Okay, so we got a couple of screws holding this down here. The carb sits right behind this cover, and then there's a few bolts on top that we've probably got to remove as well. So let's pop this off real quick and see if we can get access in there. And I bet these are going to be kind of tough to get off. I'll have to get the impact driver. Well, after a lot of persuasion, we were finally able to get that last bolt out of the bottom there. I had to start drilling it out, and I beat it several times. It finally loosened up and came out. But we're going to go ahead and pull out our carb and get that on the bench, probably put it in the ultrasonic cleaner depending on how dirty it is. So let's dig into that and see what we're working with. So there's our choke cable back here. And then our throttle cable. Looks like that choke cable is working good, and the throttle cable, so that's a good sign there. So this is our carb here. As you can tell, it's a Mikuni, the original carb. So we're gonna get this broke down, see how dirty it is, see if we need to rebuild it, and hopefully we'll be able to throw it back on here and it'll run well for us. Let's go ahead and take a look at this carb and see what this looks like. The outside of it, I mean, you can tell it's dirty, but it doesn't look horrible. The bolts or the screws came out fairly easily. That's always nice. All right, so our gasket actually looks pretty good. It's not cracked at all, which is nice, but as you can tell, it's a bunch of buildup in the bottom there. It looks like it's been dry for quite a while, so hopefully these passages and everything will clean up good. And then the inside of the carb itself here doesn't look horrible. May have to replace this O-ring here, but we'll continue breaking it down and see what those jets look like. Let's get our pin out. That came out really easily. I've had a pain with those in the past. Float looks great. Doesn't look like it's cracked and there's nothing inside of it. Let's see if this float needle looks good here. Oh yeah. A little bit of buildup, but the spring inside is working and doesn't look very worn down, so that's nice. Our jets actually look clear. The pilot jet looks like it's a little clogged. Let's see if we can get that guy out of there. Yeah, there's a little bit of debris. I don't know if you guys can see like this side passages there. There's a little bit of buildup, but I can see through it, but we definitely need to clean that up. And then the main jet, you can see straight through it. And everything else looks pretty good. I don't think we need to rebuild this necessarily. I'm just gonna spray the passages down with some carb clean, get it looking nice, and I think we'll be pretty good to go. Now this one jet at the bottom here, it is pretty gunked up. It's got all that dry corrosion on it and I can't see through it, so we'll get that one removed here. That one's stuck on there pretty bad. Hopefully I can just spray some carb clean down that and clean it up as is. All right, so you can see down it now, sprayed some carb clean in there, so at least it's cleared out, but I don't want to keep stripping that thing out if I can't get it off there, so not a huge deal as long as it's working properly. I'm gonna give the bowl a quick spray down. Let's go ahead and check this last jet here, the main jet. All right, got that all cleaned up now, looking better. That O-ring right there looks pretty brittle. I'm gonna remove that and put a new one on there. All right, got a new O-ring put on there. So hopefully that'll help it from getting any fuel past that ring. Hopefully that's the correct size. We'll test it out and see. So other than that, I think we're good to throw this thing back together real quick and put it back on the bike. And hopefully this thing will run great for us. Give them one last tighten down. And there you have it. Perfectly clean carb. Should run good for us. And we know this is the exact one. It's Mikuni and it's got the 125 here. So everything should be good to go there. We're gonna throw it back on the bike and get everything hooked back up. Well, I appreciate you guys watching. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe below. That way you guys can see part 2 of this since we're doing a second part to the series. I've really enjoyed this bike so far. Seems like it's going to be a pretty fun project. If you guys have any comments regarding this or any recommendations of something I might have missed, be sure to let me know and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks guys.